One of the last things that a lot of home buyers think about when they're getting ready to close on their home is their homeowner's insurance. They're normally looking for the cheapest homeowner's insurance just to make the lender happy. They get the keys to their new home. But how much do they really understand about the impact of their homeowner's insurance decision? Let's set you up for success, because your home is so much more than just four walls and a roof. It's your kingdom. It's your home. My name is Andrew Finney, and my passion is helping you make sense of real estate. If you need help finding a top agent near you, or if you simply want to drop me a line to say hello, my contact info is below. If you're new here, please go and subscribe to this channel now and like this video. Thank you. Alright my friend, the reason this becomes increasingly important is to consider the fact of what is covered and what isn't covered underneath your homeowner's insurance. What happens if something unfortunately happened to your property and your homeowner's insurance didn't cover it? How are you going to rebuild your home if it is completely demolished? How are you going to be able to make the repair to your home if it wasn't covered underneath the insurance? It has to come out of your pocket. Unfortunately, a lot of us don't have hundreds of thousands of dollars in the bank that we can just plop down to make those repairs. That's where the power of homeowner insurance comes into play. So let's take a closer look at homeowners insurance, and please keep in mind that I'm a trusted real estate advisor and not a homeowner's insurance agent. So when you have questions after today's conversation, please reach out to your insurance agent to ensure that you have the right coverage for you. The first thing we need to understand is, why do you even need homeowners insurance? It really falls down into three main categories. The first one is to repair your yard, home, or actual structure, being your actual house, if it were absolutely demolished or if it was leveled by a storm or burned to the ground. Could you realistically afford to rebuild your home out of pocket? The second thing is to repair or replace personal belongings. Now, this is an aspect that people don't always realize, but yes, your homeowner's insurance in a lot of cases will cover some of your contents, not only inside of your home, but even when you're on the go. Talk to your insurance agent and take a look at your policy to see what's covered and what's not covered. And the third one is to cover your personal liabilities. Yes, homeowner's insurance does that too. Consider if you had a guest over and maybe they're one of those too happy people. We've all heard of these kind of people before too. They are invited to a party, you're opening up your kingdom, your domain, to give love to those people that you welcome into your home and to share your abode with them. Somebody slips, they fall, and they decide they're going to sue you because they twisted a toenail. Yeah, it really is kind of like that sometimes. Oh, I twisted a toenail, I need $100,000. Really? You didn't even break nothing but a toenail, if that. So, I mean, I'm kind of making a light of that a little bit because it is absurd, but the reality is it does happen. And I know that you probably heard of this at some point in time, either in the news or from a family member or a friend. So it really does happen. Let's protect you, and that's one of the reasons for having your homeowner's insurance and ensuring you have the right amount of coverages. The second thing is understand what homeowner's insurance covers and what it doesn't. There are two main types of homeowners insurance policy. One of them is called an HO2 and one is called an HO3. Important to note, when we're talking about HO, what does that stand for? Homeowners insurance, right? Pretty easy to remember. HO2 and HO3. The HO2 policy is less comprehensive and it is often described as a named peril policy, which means that there are a list of named perils. Let's take a closer look at the 16 perils that an HO2 policy will cover. The first one is fire, lightning. The second one is smoke. The third is theft. The fourth is vandalism. The fifth is windstorm and hail. The sixth is damage caused by vehicles, kind of like if someone flies off the freeway into your home. Yep, that would be covered. The seventh is damage from aircraft. The eighth is from the weight of ice, snow, or sleet. The ninth is freezing of the household systems. The 10th are riots. The 11th are explosions. The 12th are falling objects. The 13th are volcanic eruptions. The 14th is overflow and discharge of water. The 15th is damage from an artificially generated electrical current. And the 16th is a sudden tearing, cracking, or bulging of the home. Now, when you want protection that goes beyond the HO2, that's when you move into the HO3, which covers all of those 16 and is often considered an open peril policy, which means that they cover all perils except for those otherwise notated by the insurer themselves. At the same time, your personal property is still covered underneath the named peril basis. For the broadest amount of homeowner protection, there is a policy called an HO5 that covers everything the HO2 and the HO3 cover, plus your home and your personal property for all occurrences except for those specifically excluded by the insurer. At the same time, you still may need specific insurance for things like a natural disaster. Such insurances include flooding, earthquakes, landslides, mold infestations, wear and tear, nuclear hazard, and government action. At the same time, in many cases, you can buy flood insurance and earthquake insurance as a separate policy, and in hurricane-prone areas or tornado-prone areas, you may want to consider windstorm insurance. Talk to your insurance agent if you have specific weather-related concerns about your insurance policy to ensure that you have the right amount of coverage for you. The third thing to understand are the basic parts of a homeowner's insurance policy. A homeowner's insurance policy is made up of several distinct categories. Some of these categories come as a standard part of the policy itself, and some can be added on. With a standard coverage policy, there's 6 broad categories that are covered. The first one is what they call dwelling protection, the dwelling being your home. In short, it covers the damage to your home and attached structures. Consider a garage here as an attached structure to your house. The second is other structures protection, which covers standalone structures on your property like a fence or a tool shed. The third thing covered are what are called additional living expenses. Now, you may have heard of this coverage term too as loss of use. In short, this type of policy will help you pay for any temporary housing expenses and basic living expenses if you are forced to vacate your home underneath a covered loss of your homeowner's insurance policy. The fourth protection is personal property protection, meaning the personal property that's inside your home. A really quick way to know what personal property is from real property is that if it's attached to the property, affixed to the property, it's considered real property. If it's loose from that, something like an appliance, something like a refrigerator, your couches, your televisions, that is personal property. The fifth is a liability coverage. Going back to that person that might slip and fall in the house and then come back to sue you, it'll help protect you if you were deemed responsible for the occurrence of that person slipping. And the sixth coverage are for medical payments. If somebody is injured on your property, it'll pay for those medical expenses if you were deemed liable for the cause of that harm to that person. And if you or your family cause an injury to another person away from the home, the policy will actually just kick in automatically, no matter who's at fault. Now, there are 4 common optional coverages to consider. The first kind is a water backup coverage. Consider what happens when a pipe bursts in your home or you have a backup and causing a water issue inside your home. This is where the water backup coverage would come into play. The second optional coverage is called an enhanced dwelling protection. Essentially, what happens if the cost of construction to replace your home goes up? You'll be protected if you have this kind of coverage. The third optional coverage you can have is for identity theft. The fourth optional coverage you can have is scheduled personal property endorsements. Now, this is for those high-end items that you may have that exceed your standard limits of coverage. Things that are like maybe very fine jewelry or very fine art that cost a lot of money and exceeds the standard amount that you have for your personal property limits. The fourth thing you need to know about homeowners insurance is to consider wisely the choice of the coverage and protection that you want, along with your limits and deductibles. Now, the best person to have this conversation with will be your insurance agent. If you haven't done so already, you should be reviewing your insurance coverages every single year to make sure that you have adequate coverage based upon any changes in your life or household effects or situations at large. It's a very useful homeowner habit to adopt right away is reviewing your insurance policy with your insurance agent once a year. The fifth thing to understand is what's called replacement cost versus actual cash value. Now, a lot of people hear the word cash and they get fixated on it thinking that's going to be the better policy. Not exactly. So when we're looking at replacement value, if your house were completely demolished and it had to be rebuilt tomorrow, what would it cost to rebuild your house from the foundation brick by brick all the way back to its former glory? That's the full replacement value of your house, or oftentimes some people call it brick by brick replacement, as opposed to what's called the actual cash value replacement, which bases the coverage on the depreciated value of your personal property and your residence. So you can quickly see how stark of a contrast this is. Make sure that you're getting the replacement coverage because that's what's going to help you rebuild if something goes wrong. The sixth thing that you want to do is understand your deductibles and how they work on your policy. Please have an in-depth conversation with your insurance agent about the type of policy you choose and the options that you want covered. Have this conversation with them, ask them about the deductibles, and make sure that you understand what's going on and where your protection is. Getting this right, I know it's not always so fun to think about the bad things that could happen in life, but getting this right up front will protect us into the future. If you haven't done so lately, please talk to your insurance agent. The seventh thing is how high should your deductibles be? Your deductible needs to be at an amount that you could realistically pay if you ever need to draw on your homeowner's insurance. Review your options with your homeowner's insurance agent to make sure the deductible amount is comfortable to you. The eighth thing to understand is what factors into the cost of homeowner's insurance. Typically, a homeowner's insurance company will be looking at the following. 1, the rebuilding cost of your home. 2, the age of your home. The third one is the distance from your home to the nearest water source. The fourth is a fire protection rating for your city. The fifth is your homeowner's insurance claims history and also the homeowner's insurance claims of others in your neighborhood. The sixth is your coverage, limits, and deductibles. And the seventh thing they'll take into consideration is what they're considered recreational hazards or attractive nuisances. Consider something like a trampoline or a pool that would fall underneath this category that could pose major risk or harm to you or another person on your property. They will take that into account as well. Okay, so now that you're ready to go have a wonderful conversation with your insurance agent, let's take a closer look at the 8 types of homeowners insurance and 9 tips for filing an insurance claim after a major disaster. Looking forward to our next conversation. We'll see you in a few.